So I put out a question on Instagram recently that said, hey, what are some questions that I can answer when it comes to content creation? And this is what I got. It was actually a friend of mine that reached out and said, hey, can you help me with my SEO and keyword planning? And I was like, yeah, sure. Just send me your keywords and I'll be sure to, maybe I'll even do a video about it. And she said, hang on, let me clarify. I don't have keywords. Can you help me figure out what keywords I should be using for my content? So this is what we're talking about today. I'm actually going to do a full demonstration tutorial of the 4 steps that I usually walk through whenever I am trying to find great keywords for my content and I'm doing my SEO research. So let's get right to it. Hey y'all, Crystal here today, and we are talking about the actual 4 steps that I go through whenever it comes to keyword research and SEO planning. Now, if SEO is a term that is brand new to you, it stands for search engine optimization, and it's how you can optimize your content to rank on Google, to rank on YouTube, and for your content to get in front of more people organically for free. And this is something that I have been really investing a lot of time in because it is how I've gotten so much more traffic on my website, on my podcast, and on my YouTube channel. And it's something that I've had a lot of people in our community reaching out saying, hey, can you actually show us step by step how this works? So I'm going to be using an example from someone in our community that said, hey, can you help me with planning the SEO keywords for my content? So I'm going to go to the computer and I'm going to show you the 4 steps that I typically walk through when I'm doing this for my own content. Okay, the first tool that I want to talk about today is called Answer the Public. So you can just type that into Google or whatever search engine, and it's going to be answerthepublic.com. And what will happen is it gives you this, like, it's a search engine, right? But it's so much more than that. And the content creator that asked me to help with her keyword planning does a lot of public speaking, getting on stages, being visible in your online business. This is what she helps other people do. And so these are some of the things that I'm going to see. Well, what types of questions are people already asking? Because that is what Answer the Public does. And I'm going to show you how this works. So I'm going to use the term public speaking. Ooh, and 79 questions popped up and 377 total results came up for public speaking. Now, don't worry, I'm going to walk you through how to use this because at first glance, it's a little overwhelming. It's a lot of information, but there's so much juicy goodness to go off here. Because what this is telling me is these are all the questions that people are typing into Google on a regular basis and really wanting to know about. So here's a great one. How public speaking boosts your confidence. Is public speaking important? Nervous when public speaking. So there's all these different phrases that you can start a question with. Can public speaking kill you? Oh my goodness. Can public speaking be a hobby? Okay, then there is where public speaking can take place. So just from this information right here, she's going to have so much content to go with. So what's cool is you can actually download this image, and I'm going to do that because I'm going to save this and send it to her based on this information. So this is a visual, but there's also data. So those of you that are numbers driven, it can be a lot easier to read it this way. So what this does is it actually breaks it down by the different, the ways that it was on the image. So you can see it a lot easier. If the other one was like, oh my gosh, it's too overwhelming, you can actually read them a lot easier right here. But I'm actually going to jump down to the next section because it has even more information. So public speaking for beginners, public speaking for success, public speaking for kids, public speaking can serve the purpose. Like there's so many different things. And so you can take all of this information and put it out in a list, put it in an Excel spreadsheet, like however you want to do it. You can actually come up here and download the CSV version of this. And so you have it all in a spreadsheet and you can decide from there, well, what are people asking about? These are the type of questions people are already asking on a regular basis. Then you can decide what you want to do with them, which is what we're going to talk about here in a second. So what's cool about this is I can even come down here and see, okay, so public speaking, so something related to public speaking. I could click on one of these, and she is actually a public speaking coach. So if I wanted to, I could click on this and it will take me out to Google, and that will give me all the different search results that I would get if I were looking for public speaking results. So there's a lot of different ways that you can look at this information, but what I typically tell people to do is do it to spark some ideas, to spark some creativity on what people are already asking on a regular basis about your topic. Okay, the second thing that I want you to do when it comes to planning your SEO and planning your keywords, I took the information from Answer the Public and I put it in a CSV file. I downloaded it, I put it in a Google Sheet, and all I have done is kind of cleaned it up, and I made it to where I can search through the information pretty easily. So if she wanted to search for a particular keyword, she could do a control find and look for, is anybody thinking about this for an entrepreneur or for business? And then what I would do based off of that is do some keyword planning and picking out the different phrases that she would want to use in her content. So that is step number 2, picking out specific phrases or maybe questions or statements that you want to rank for whenever it comes to your SEO. So now that I've chosen a few phrases based off of the questions that we found from Answer the Public, I want to use my tool, which is Keywords Everywhere, and I'm going to see which of these would be the best for her to use whenever it comes to planning her podcast episodes, her YouTube videos, her blog post, or even stuff that she puts on social media, because this will capture the attention of the people who she is trying to reach. So we're going to go to Keywords Everywhere and I'm going to type these in and we're going to see what information we come up with. So if you've never used Keywords Everywhere, here's what you're going to do. You're going to go to keywordseverywhere.com and you're going to install the Chrome extension or Firefox extension, which for me, I use Chrome on a regular basis. So I already have the extension installed and I toggle it on or off depending on if I'm in research mode or if I'm just doing things like I don't want it to continuously use up my credits. So I will toggle it on and off depending on whether I'm doing research. So I'm going to come up here to my extension and I'm going to turn it on, and this allows me to do my research that I want to do. So I'm going to come down to bulk keywords data. So from here, I can import all of the keywords that I just said I wanted to rank for and get a lot of information on how that information is going to really perform if I start using it and which ones I should use. So I'm going to go grab all those, copy and paste them in here. Okay, so these are all the different ones that I just took from the spreadsheet, and I'm going to click Get Metrics, and then we have a lot of information. So what I would do is, you could sit here and you could sort it and do all the things, but I want to have all this information in one spreadsheet. So I'm going to download this as a CSV file. And then I just created a new tab in that same Google Sheet that we were working in, and I just labeled it Keywords Everywhere Information. So based off of this, the keywords from Answer the Public and what we were really looking at, the highest one that we saw was speaking at conferences. There are 5,400 searches for this in an average monthly basis, because this takes the trends from January 2021 all the way to December 2021, and it gives you the search volume for these keywords. Now, what's really important about this is because maybe her specialty isn't telling people how to speak at conferences, but what she can do is use the term speaking at a conference can also translate to podcast and YouTube. You have to think outside the box when it comes to how you title things, because you never want it to be something that's misleading to your audience where it's like, oh, I thought she was going to talk about this, but she ended up talking about this, because that's just going to hurt your overall content strategy. But what's really important is to keep refreshing, keep looking, because maybe based off of this, you get a little inspiration. You're like, well, I don't really want to talk about that, but there was also a question on Answer the Public that I thought may have been a little bit better. So I'm going to go look, I'm going to go back to the keyword tool and use that again. So that is step number 3, is use a keyword tool that is going to help you and your content whenever it's ranking, but you also want it to be something that is platform specific, which is why I love keywords everywhere, because it works for Google, it works for YouTube, it works for all the places where I put my content. So it's what I use on a regular basis. And the fourth thing that I want to touch on is whenever it comes to SEO, there's so many different keywords that I could rank for all day if I wanted to talk about it over and over and over and over again, but that's boring to me. It really is. There's solo podcasts that I have ranked for really, really well in my content on YouTube and in Google, but I don't want to just talk about solo podcast forever and ever until the end of time. So you have to find that sweet spot between what people are already searching for, as well as the type of content that you really want to create. Because at the end of the day, you have to enjoy what you're creating as a content creator. So don't lose sight of just keyword stuffing everything that you're creating, because it's going to hurt your content in the long term if you're just creating something for views, for shares, for likes, when you're kind of miserable behind the camera, behind the microphone, or, behind the scenes. You're like, I have to create another video. I have to create another podcast about this, and it's slowly killing me inside. So make sure that you pick those keywords that are going to help you rank, but also it's something that you are excited to create for your audience. But let's do a quick recap. So number 1, you want to make sure that you use a tool like Answer the Public that's going to give you some ideas and inspiration on the keywords that you think you should be looking at and ranking for. Number 2, you want to pick a few topics based around the questions that people are already asking. Number 3, you want to use a SEO tool that can help you rank better and make really good decisions based on actual data and information that's out there. And number 4, you want to create content that has that SEO power, but it's also something that you are excited to create. So what other questions do you have about SEO and content creation, keyword planning? Make sure you put them in the comments below. I would be happy to answer your specific questions and possibly feature you in an upcoming video all about SEO. But that's all I have for you today. So make sure you hit the thumbs up on this video if you found it helpful. Subscribe below, that way you don't miss our future videos all about content creation and running your online business. Make sure you check out these other videos right here, because they are jam-packed with other information just like this. And as always, remember, keep it up. We all have to start somewhere.